Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to True Talk Tuesday, where we get the real deal on real estate. My name is Shalisa Muehlberger. I'm an agent in Polk County, Florida, with S&D Real Estate Services. If you're here tonight, as always, give me a shout on comments. Let me know that you've got a question or you're just saying hi. I will remind you this throughout the time. Unfortunately, I have a little bit of bad news, and as you can see from the title of this one, we are having to postpone our inspector being here and us talking about inspections tonight. Unfortunately, she had something come up last minute, and we aren't able to make tonight work for her. But that's okay. She's still coming on. All right. So don't fret. We are still going to get an inspector coming in, and they're going to be able to tell you exactly what are they looking at. And tonight we are going to go over first time home buying, like a crash course, because remember how I've said the market has been neutral, the market's been neutral, the market's been neutral. Y'all, the market just shifted slightly over to a buyer side, just like ever so slightly. Like, it's still neutral, don't get me wrong, don't get me twisted, but ever so slightly it has switched over to kind of a buyer side. This is huge. So I want to make sure that everybody that listens to me knows how to buy a home. So we're going to do the first time home buyer course tonight. Oh my goodness, Sierra's here. What's up, Sierra? Sierra, I have known literally, I think I've known you, Sierra. I know I've known you since you were 15, but I'm pretty sure it's been since you were about 13, because you were the one that helped Savannah when people locked her out of PE. So, by the way, Sierra is one of my favorite people in the whole dang world. All right, just so you know. She helped my kiddo when my kiddo was getting bullied. All right. But all right. So what is tonight? Like I said, we're gonna do first time home buyer crash course, because of the fact that rates dropped a little bit. And then not only that, but remember I've been talking about with our numbers how the market was stabilizing, right? Well, in that stabilization, what's happened is that we have seen home prices drop a bit, which is great for buyers, right? Not great for sellers, but that's okay, because when buyers start flooding the market, which is going to happen, when buyers start flooding the market, then the home prices are going to start coming back up. So it's just one of these cycles that go up and down, up and down. So it's, where are we within that cycle? Is it good for you? Can you make that happen? And buyers right now is good for you. All right. Just good for you. So first things first, when we're going to talk about whether or not you can buy a home, one, if you are really interested in seeing where you are personally, in the description of this live, there is a link to a first time home buyer quiz. You can take that quiz. It's going to ask you some questions. And if you don't know the answers, that's okay. There's an option for, I don't know that answer. All right. But it's going to tally how many points you make throughout the quiz. And then it's going to tell you where you are based on the information you've given. Where are you on your path to buying a home? Are you just starting the path? Are you pretty near finished but not yet finished? Are you finished and it's time to get serious? So you'll get this score, and then once you get your score, you'll get an email. And I personally, this isn't an automatic email, I personally send this email to you. All right. And the email goes over what your score means, and it also gives you a bunch of links to further educate yourself. All right. Because I'm huge on education. I don't want anybody to do anything that they have not been given the full information and knowledge of. Right. We make our best decisions when we get all the information up front. It's one of the reasons why I do this every single week. Right. I want to make sure everybody has the best knowledge available to them. So once you've taken that quiz and it's like, yeah, I can do this. Let's go. Let's make sure that we can go ahead and buy a house. So first things first is you're going to choose a realtor. Hi. If you've taken my quiz, I hope you choose me. But you'll choose your realtor, And one of the things that I'm going to ask you when I first talk to you is, hey, how are we going to finance this home? Is it, you've got cash in the bank somewhere? Are we going to have to sell a home, which you wouldn't be a first time home buyer at that point, but there are exceptions to that rule. But are we going to have to sell a home? Are you, having, down payment needs? Do you need to get a loan of some sort? We're going to talk about those questions, right? If you look at me and you're like, hey, Shalisa, I need to get financed for this, I'm going to say, okay, cool. Do you have a lender that you work with? And if you tell me no, then I'm going to give you some options because I work with a couple of different lenders, right? And I like having a couple of different lenders in my pocket. Why? Because they all have kind of different programs, right? We've talked about this before on the channel. Like they have different programs. So you and I talking about your situation is going to help me go, hey, here's the lenders I have, but I think this one right here, this one might be your best bet. What do you think? And if you want to go with that lender, you go with that lender. All right. Gail's here. What's up, Gail? So you would go with that lender. So I would call the lender and I'd say, hey, I've got a buyer that needs to get pre-approved. Here's their information. Do you mind giving them a call and getting that process in motion? So we're going to get you pre-approved first. Why do we get you pre-approved? Why can't I just go ahead and take you to go see that house? Because I love you. That's why I'm getting you pre-approved. I'm not going to break your heart. No, not happening. Not going to do it. And I say that because you might look at a $350,000 house and Zillow told you could afford that payment. Zillow said I could afford that payment. Zillow doesn't know your credit score. Zillow doesn't know your debt to income ratios. Zillow doesn't know any of that stuff about you, right? Doesn't know your income level. A lender was going to find all that information out. So Zillow might say, yeah, you could afford that house. But when we get to your nitty gritty information, you're not going to be able to afford that house, right? You can't afford that house. So now I've shown you a house that you fell in love with. You could see yourself spending forever there, right? And you can't afford it. That's horrible. No, I'm not doing that to you. Not at all. Oh, right? Imagine that heartbreak, Gail. Like you said, finding the perfect house and you can't find the funding. Oh, no. It happened to one of my buyers last year. And it wasn't any fault of like anybody. It just at the end of 2024, things were starting to get a little weird. And so they had found the perfect house. We had them pre-approved, right? We had them pre-approved. And then lending started going, you know what? We got condition after condition after condition you need to meet, and they could never clear their conditions. So we'll talk about that in just a minute too. What does that mean? What was underwriting doing with conditions? But we get you pre-approved. Okay. Pre-approved. I now have a budget for you. You have a budget for you. So I'm going to set you up on receiving automatic emails from my MLS. And my automatic emails are going to give you all these houses that fit your criteria, right? They're going to look at it and you're going to look at it and say, oh, I want to see this one. And you'll let me know, hey, I like this one that you sent on the email. Cool. Let's go schedule a showing. We're going to schedule a showing. And during a showing, you're going to look at the house a little differently than I'm going to look at the house, right? You're going to look at the house of, can I fit my couch there? Is this room big enough for my child? That kind of thing, right? And you're going to see me like looking in the closets and underneath cabinets. I'm looking for water damage, right? I'm looking for pests. I'm looking for things that you're not looking for, right? But if we both say, hey, this house actually would be good for you, then we're going to discuss your offer. All right. And your offer in a buyer's market, you can get away with asking for concessions. What does that mean? Concessions are, hey, I need the seller to pay my closing costs, right? In a seller's market, good luck. Sellers have multiple offers. That's why it's a seller's market, right? They've got multiple buyers wanting their home. So they can choose the one that's going to give them full price with no concessions and the closest day closing, right? It's got it. It's going to be very stupid competitive, right? But in a buyer's market, you can say, "Hey, I need X amount of money for closing costs," so that it cuts down the amount of money you need to bring to the table at the end of the transaction. It's not going to be zero. Okay, we got to make sure we understand this. All right. Can I just say, Gail says, can I just say, just because you're approved for 300K doesn't mean you need to spend 300K? Absolutely. I will tell you that I've had buyers that have gotten approved for up to 700,000, right? 700,000. And they've specifically looked at me and said, I don't want a 700,000 payment. I want a $450,000 payment. Groovy. All right, we're going to go look at a $450,000 home, right? We're not going to look at $700,000 home. Your agent and you should be able to have that conversation, Gail. And so, yes, absolutely. Look for an outside spigot from personal experience. Look, look, Gail, look, all right? There was aluminum foil. Gail and I know what this means, and it's probably everybody's gonna be like, "What's going on?" That's a story time for another day. All right, story time for another day. But once you found the house and we've discussed your offer, what is discussing your offer? How much are you going to offer, right? Like it could be a house that is 225,000 because you're a first-time home buyer. So we're going to go low. We're going to go low. Not saying that you're broke, all right? I'm just saying that a lot of first-time home buyers that I have represented, we are in the 200 to 250 range, right? Okay. Cuz you're young. It's okay, all right? Not calling you broke. But we're going to say 225, right? 225, but the other houses around it aren't going for 225 and they look very similar. I might suggest, hey, let's offer 220, right? 220. It's not going to save you that much money, but 220. If we're asking for concessions though, if we're asking for concessions, and this is just me being me, trying to be fair to both seller and my buyer, right? Because that's the type of person I am. I'm going to suggest, hey, we're going to put in a full offer. We'll ask for X amount in concessions, and you're going to put 1% of that asking price into escrow within 3 days. So if it's 225, that's $2,250 that's going to be out of your bank account and into escrow. Now, that's going to apply out to your closing costs, all right? But it's in this account to show the seller, hey, I'm serious. I want to buy this house, right? So look, I've got the money to do it. So let me buy your house, right? So we're going to put 1% of the loan into escrow, all right? We are going to, if we have to ask for concessions, I'm going to say give a full offer unless the house absolutely, like if we look around, we're like, no, this is they're asking way too much for this house, right? That's another conversation. That's a part of having these conversations and negotiating what you're comfortable with your realtor, right? This is why I also kind of try to make sure people are comfortable with me when I first meet them. We joke around. I might try to find out things about you, like what's your favorite candy, right? What kind of drink do you like? Do you have kids? Do you have pets? What kind of sports team do you like? Even though I don't watch sports, I know nothing about sports, but hey, I want to know about you, right? I want you to feel comfortable with me because we're going to have some very uncomfortable conversations along this time, all right? And that first one is, let's talk about your offer, right? Here's what I think you should do. What do you want to do? We're going to talk about it, and you are going to have that decision. I am paid to do what you want me to do in regards of that, right? And it is also in my best interest and your best interest for me to look after your best interest, right? So if you say something like, hey, I'm going to offer 50,000 over asking, Time out. Time out. We're gonna talk about that heavily, right? Because I don't think that's right. And if you force it, I'm gonna look at you and go, they're gonna okay, but it's not gonna appraise. So where are you gonna get the money from? That kind of thing. We'll talk about it. So ultimately, it's your decision what kind of offer you want to put in. Once you've put in an offer, within 3 days now, like I said, it's 1% of that listing price. 1% for our make believe situation. Now, that 1% was $2,250 within the escrow account within the first 3 days. Within the first 7 days, I'm going to call up an inspector. Again, I'm going to give you options and say, hey, do you have an inspector you want to use? Cool, we can use that one. If you're like, no, I need help, I'll give you an option. Say, hey, pick one, right? Here are the ones that I work with. Here's what they're great at doing, right? Pick one. You pick one, I call them up. I make the arrangements to go ahead and get them scheduled to do the inspection. You have to pay for that inspection before they do it. That inspection can run anywhere from $450 to $650. Recently, I just heard of an inspection that was $750. So $450 to $650, right? That's how much. Depending on your loan type, you might have to have multiple inspections, right? So if you go through for a VA loan, FHA loan, and there's a septic or a well out there, we have to look. We have to make sure that everything's right by those in order for your loan to go through. FHA, if it is a trailer, we'll have to certify the hurricane ties of that trailer here in Florida, right? So that's an engineer report. That's another 450 to 650, right? So be prepared that you're going to have to spend another at least 2,500 at max, at the least 450 more, right? But at max, at least another 2,500 in inspections. Once we get the inspections done, hold on, I got a question. Can inspectors check things like water heaters or air conditioners? That's exactly what they're supposed to be checking for. Gail, that's how when we were in your house, the one you own now, that's how we found out about the aluminum foil on the ducts, right? And that's how we also found that there was no like vent. So yes. Now, air conditioners, a lot of times they won't look at your air conditioner. What they'll do is they'll look at the age of the air conditioner and they'll look to see if it's been maintained. So if the AC has been cleaned recently, like it's the first time it's been cleaned in 2 years, well, it's going to look like it's been maintained by the inspector, right? If it's running, they're gonna make sure that the temperature is what it's supposed to be. If it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, then that's it, right? That's as far as they go. I have, if the AC is older, I would ask to have an inspector come in, an HVAC inspector come in. And a lot of times they will come in and inspect it for free. I've got a guy that I'm just gonna say, my AC guy is the greatest guy in the whole world. Back before we could afford a new AC, that whole company Frankensteined our AC so that way our kids and myself would stay cool and my husband would stay cool. So I love these guys, but I have one that, because they know me, they will come out and they'll look at the AC, right? And they'll tell me, hey, this is what's going on with the AC. So if you're really concerned about the AC, I say contact somebody that's in HVAC during your inspection period. That's another negotiable, right? It is typically 7 to 10 days. I have seen them as long as 15 because they had multiple inspections. Is a VA loan, right? So they had multiple inspections that they had to go through. So they had a 15-day inspection period. What is the inspection period? The inspection period is the time where we can get things inspected. We can really look at the house, understand what's going on with the house, and see if there's any major issues with the house. If it's too major, like there's a crack in the foundation, We have the time, we can turn around, we can get our escrow money back. You're not going to get your inspection fees back, right? That's not coming back. But you are going to get your escrow back and be able to walk away, all right? If there are repairs that need to be done before the inspection period ends, I, as your realtor, would start negotiating with the listing agent. Hey, look, we found, roof damage. We found a pipe leak. We found things that are major, right? We found these things and we'd like them fixed, because if they're not, we can't fund this loan because we can't get insurance, right? So we'll talk back and forth about those type of things. I tell my buyers often, if it's things that are very minuscule, like the outlet cover is missing, we're not going to ask for that, right? Like we're not going to do that. The paint chipping, you're going to paint it anyways, right? I'm not going to ask for that. If it's going to stop your lending, yes, I'm going to ask for that, right? We're going to definitely ask for that to be fixed, okay? Marshall, what's up? Tiffany. Thank you. Thank you, Tiffany. Yes, Tiffany, like the AC is at the end of its life. We will get told those things by inspectors, by the way. We will get your inspection report along with you, right? They'll send us a copy of the inspection report. We'll look over it. A lot of us work with people that are house flippers, contractors. We work in this industry so long that we kind of know a guy. We always kind of, oh, I know a guy for that. So we are able to kind of look at this and go, oh, that's a high dollar one. Oh, that one's definitely gonna stop lending. So we're gonna look through your inspection report with you. We're gonna get the negotiations, get repairs with whatever we need to get repaired. Sometimes we might even negotiate a home warranty for you. And a home warranty can cover everything from your AC going out to your fridge going out, right? So sometimes we do that as well. I've known agents that actually have bought home warranties as a closing gift. Marshall, I wonder how they check for mold. They do not. You have to ask specifically. So just a regular inspection, my understanding. Now, if you're an inspector and you're watching this and you do check for mold, tell me, because it has been my experience that that's something that we have to ask for. We have to ask for a mold check. Now, I do know that some of them do carry the air readers, but they can detect mold, but they can't tell you what kind it is. And I've also been told by an inspector that it's absolutely ridiculous for him to carry one of those because everywhere in Florida has mold. It's like everywhere in Polk County has radon. No, not everywhere in Polk County has radon. I make that joke because of phosphate mining. All right, calm down. But yeah, I've been told like everywhere in Florida has mold. So it's one of those things that you would have to specifically get an air test for to see the concentration of mold within a house. So they will get all the business if they do, right? They offer those mold testings. Yeah. You can also get I have not personally checked in a very long time, but you used to be able to get a mold test kit, in like Home Depot and Lowe's, and you'd be able to send them off to labs. You might be able to buy them now on Amazon. So if that's something that you're like worried about, you can do something like that. So we're done with inspections now, right? Yay, we're done with inspections. Repairs are on their way. They're doing everything. Cool beans. What's next? Well, what's next is appraisal and underwriting. All right. So at the very beginning of this thing, when you got pre-approved, and the lender's going to have to send you through underwriting. It is underwriting's job, I am convinced, to find every reason not to give you that loan. every reason not to give you that loan, all right? Um, so they are going to give you conditions, and you're going to have to submit documents to your lender. You're going to need to make sure that you are uh, staying on top and getting that done very quickly because we only have a certain amount of days to close. So you're going to go through underwriting, and underwriting will eventually give us something called a clear to close, right? But that's after all conditions have been met. One of those conditions is appraisal. We got to make sure that the house is worth what you're trying to get a loan for, right? So that is another thing that you would need to pay sometimes up front. Some lenders will pay it up front for you and then they reimburse themselves at the end, right? And then some require you to pay that up front. So it's a discussion that you need to have with the lender. Do I need to pay the appraisal up front, or are you going to pay it for me and it, reimburse at close? Once the appraisal is done, and the appraisals can vary based on your loan. Like FHA, you have to have an FHA certified appraiser come out to look. That FHA appraiser feels like an inspection. It feels like a double inspection because they're going to look for safety hazards. They're going to look for things that have to be in working order for you to get a government-backed loan, right? So they're going to look for, like, if you have a manufactured home or a trailer, you've got to have every bit of the underneath of the trailer completely closed in, no holes at all. No rodents or anything can get in there, right? I got popped one time for a dishwasher, not a dishwasher, a stove eye. One eye of the stove didn't come up to heat properly. So we had to go and negotiate a new, like, replacement stove, that kind of thing. So there's those things, right? So the appraisal is going to go in differently based on your loan, but most of the time they're going to come back and they're going to tell us what is the value of your home. They're not going to tell the seller. What's going to happen, and how I update the listing agent, they come to us and they're like, "Hey, you're walking into this home with like $30,000 in equity." And I'm going to go, "We appraise for value." Like, that's it. I'm not going to tell them. I'm not going to tell them. It's none of their business. It's between you and the appraiser, right? And me. Nobody else's business. So I've had buyers ask me before, "Hey, do you have to tell the sellers how much, over?" No, I do not. All I have to say is it appraised for value. That's it. So that they know, okay, that's been check marked off. Because once that's check marked off and all conditions have been met by underwriting, again, that being one of the conditions, we will get issued something called a clear to close. A clear to close means that I can call title, who has been diligently working to make sure that there's no liens on your house. If there are liens, those liens have been cleared. Are there outstanding permits? All this kind of stuff, right? They're working on all of that. One of your conditions, by the way, was to get homeowners insurance. And between your lender and myself, we got you homeowners insurance. And the title is going to make sure that's good too, right? Yep. Okay. They got all their stuff. So title has gotten all their stuff done. Lending has gotten all their stuff done. We've got homeowners insurance. So now what's going to happen now that we've got the clear to close? The lender and title are going to make sure they got the right numbers, right? Because title this whole time has also been running numbers to make sure that what we had on paper matches what is being for lending, right? Because I've had to submit your contract. I've had to submit the invoices to get people paid at closing for repairs, right? I had to submit all those things, right? So they're making sure everything matches up. Everything's good. Once those things match up and they're balanced, then we will be able to sign paperwork. All right. I would love to tell you that I know the exact date you're going to get cleared to close. No, I won't know. I would love to tell you that every single time I've signed a contract with a buyer that we have closed on time. Nope. Sometimes we close early. That's great. But sometimes we close late and we have to sign addendums and things of that nature. What's an addendum, by the way? An addendum is just a piece of paper that's added. That's why it's called an addendum. It's added to the contract and it'll say, hey, like, we're not going to close on time, so we're going to close on this date instead. And everybody signs it going, yeah, we understand we're closing late. So once you've signed, hey, Caitlin. But once you've signed your paperwork, you'll receive your keys, and now you have a new home, right? So that's a very crash course, high level version of this, right? If you are interested in taking a true, like, in-depth, getting certified, so that way if you need down payment assistance, you've got a certification. Because yes, some of these down payment assistance make you be certified as a homeowner. So if you're doing that, in my description, there is a digital business card. And if you click on that, it's not just my information. What's on there is a couple of different links, and one of them is to Fannie Mae. And Fannie Mae has courses that you can take, and it also has a bunch of different education that you can take to see if you're ready. So not only do I have a quiz on there, you also have my digital card, which can give you some additional sources. Okay. Okay. I know, Marcel, right? Right? You see, you can take the teacher out of the classroom, but there's still things that I do. Very much educator, right? There's still much like, okay, I want to make sure you have all the resources so that way you can be successful. So I have all over the place. Any of my social media, you will see that digital card. It says hi, hello. Um, it You'll see a picture of me wearing a purple shirt, black jacket, black pants, right? I look super professional because my hair is up. I'm like, look, it's professional me. Um, by the way, that's how you can tell if I'm in professional mode. My hair goes up. But you can go on that card, and like I said, I have a plethora of links on there for you to be able to educate yourself. All right. Even if you don't choose me as a realtor, I would still be absolutely ecstatic if you use those links, because that means you took the extra step to make sure that this is right for you. This might not be the time for you, even though it is a buyer's market right now. And I am encouraging everybody who can to go ahead and make that leap. This might not be the right time, and that's okay, right? That's okay. It might be later on that it becomes your time. And when it becomes your time, now you've gotten all the information, you know what to do. So you very clearly now have a path. So when it is your time, you've got everything set up. Okay. All right. Anybody got any questions for tonight? Because we're at the end of the show. Marshall, yeah, I know. I am, like you said, it's crazy that I have that much set up, but it's important to me. It's part of what makes me me in real estate, is the education part of it. That's why I enjoy doing this every night. When we get up for Tuesdays, and whether that's numbers, which we already know, they drive me crazy. But whether it's numbers or I'm sharing like the weirdest questions I can find, which we haven't done one of those in a while. I might do that next week. I might do that next week. We might go dive back into very weird and wacky questions that buyers and sellers have asked. And believe it or not, I get questioned at least once every 2 weeks about the whole, finding a dead body on your property. I'm like, I'm just gonna be known as the person who told people what So anyways, all right, my lovelies, we are done for tonight. If you've got any questions after the fact or you've watched this after the fact, again, feel free to send me any messages through whatever medium you can send me. My hi hello digital card that's on the description has all my social media accounts. It has my email, phone number. So if you got any questions, just shoot me a message somehow. All right, pick your way. All right, my lovelies. As always, be happy, be safe. Know that I love you because if people can hate for no reason, I can love for no reason. All right, my lovelies. All right, my lovelies. See you next time.